the 1st Infantry Division in Vietnam. Into a new kind of war come the men of the Big Red One. Far from the concepts of trench warfare and front lines of World Wars I and II, today's challenge in Vietnam demands quick assault and rapid mobility techniques. In this conflict, as in every other, the 1st Infantry Division is serving the United States with honor and distinction, no matter what the task, no matter what the sacrifice.
Man and horse. The combination has always represented the most exciting aspect of soldiering, immortalized in folk song, poetry, and art. Schoolboys have stared at Remington paintings of horse soldiers in history books, or memorized the charge of the Light Brigade, and longed to be a part of the action. The thunder of hooves over the roar of battle, bugle calls, the classic cavalry charge.
The days of the horse soldier are all but gone now, but the spirit, the tactics, and much of the color still remain in the men who ride the iron horses, the armored cavalry. Today, Duty First takes a look at such a unit, the 1st Squadron, 4th Cavalry, the Quarter Horse.
The Quarter Horse has a long, proud history. Commissioned in June 1855, she has won streamers from Bull Run, Antietam, and other Civil War battles. Soldiers of the 4th Cavalry captured Geronimo and fought to the death at Little Bighorn. During World War II, the 1st Squadron, 4th Cavalry, joined the Big Red One as a recon element. From Tunisia to Normandy and the Rhineland, the Quarter Horse served as the eyes and ears of the division. When the division first arrived in Vietnam, men of the Quarter Horse were among the landing party. They have been a vital part of the 1st fighting machine. Lieutenant Colonel William Hoponsky, the squadron commander, tells of the role the CAV plays in Vietnam.
The Quarter Horse is a unique unit in the division, of course, it being the only armored cavalry squadron, and consequently is employed normally as part of division troops. That is not attached to a brigade in the division. However, it can be, and at this current time is attached to a brigade. It is an extremely flexible organization, having 3 ground cavalry troops, armored cavalry troops, and 1 air cavalry troop. The air cavalry itself gives us the capability of covering just about the entire division area of operations and gaining intelligence, developing this intelligence, and what we call piling on when we have developed something that looks like a good target.
The Quarter Horse is currently working with pacification. Colonel Hoponsky tells us further.
We do have an active pacification program. We can't take too great credit for this. Most of the credit belongs with the district chief, Major Chow. A wonderful person, an imaginative one, aggressive, industrious, and one with obviously a great love for his people. The pacification program itself has been going on for a long time, but most recently the accelerated pacification program was launched in November with the South Vietnamese government directive, and at this time we were directed to cooperate to the fullest extent with the Vietnamese officials in this area. We're more than happy to do so. We have attempted to provide them security for their operations. We have tried to supply them with limited materials, labor, and technical assistance that we can find in our units. And perhaps most of all, we have been willing partners and spirit.
Sponsoring various pacification programs, the Quarter Horse coordinates with several other units in bringing entertainment and information materials to outlying Vietnamese villages. Captain Thomas Witter, the unit's S5, was interviewed recently at the site of one of these programs.
Captain Witter, would you tell us a little bit about what's going on here today?
Roger. We've set up a program where we go out into the hamlets, our target hamlets, with the band and movies at night. And we show the people that we're not afraid to come out into their hamlets at night. And when we're out there, the VC, of course, can't be there. And it adds security to the hamlets, plus entertains the people. And most of them have never seen a motion picture or a live band before, and they really enjoy it. It's just one of our civil affairs operations that we've been running here in the Zion area.
Does the quarter cab provide this entertainment with any frequency?
Roger, we schedule a movie about every 3 nights, and the band when we can get them, and we can usually get the band at every other movie.
What seems to have been a response of the Vietnamese people here to this program?
Well, the first time we came to this hamlet, they liked the movies and enjoyed it very much, but they thought it wasn't long enough. So they wanted us to show longer movies. A lot of them have to walk pretty far to come to the movie, and if we just have an hour movie, they said too far to walk for an hour. So starting tonight, we're showing 2.5 hours of movies.
A cavalry unit is structured in many ways similar to an infantry unit. Major Paul Lucas, the operations officer, explains further.
We consider the platoon as the basic fighting element of the quarter horse. We have our platoons that go into making up our troops, the troop being a company-size element. And then the 3 line troops and the Delta Air Troop comprised of the squadron itself.
Major Lucas explains how the various squadron elements are controlled.
The elements that we have organic to us is controlled by the squadron headquarters. If we're in a field location, we normally establish our Tactical Operations Center, or the TOC, using our 577 command tracks. While in base camp, we have recently moved into our new Tactical Operations Center. This houses our operations section, our artillery section, our S2 section, and a war room or conference room.
Sergeant First Class Charles McGrath is a platoon sergeant. He leads his track platoon on reconnaissance and force, or RIF missions. They also provide road security. He first explains about the road security mission.
All we do is observe the convoy, keep the roads open, and right now the Thailanders are running convoys through. That's our mission, to secure their convoys.
On a regular RIF mission, what are some of the things you do there?
Well, naturally look for recent enemy activity in the AO and seek out tunnels and weapons caches and so forth.
I suppose maintenance must be quite a problem in Vietnam.
It definitely is. Example, the other night on the way back in, I burned up a road wheel arm, so you work 4 hours putting it back on.
Would you give me an idea of the tremendous firepower the people in your platoon can put out?
Well, example, tanks, you got 3 90mm guns there. And each tank's mounted with a coax, and each tank's got a 50 caliber. And if we can scrounge them up, we got an M60 machine guns on them. Each ACAV is mounted with a 50 caliber and an M60 machine gun, plus the M16s that we have on board.
You mentioned something about coax. What is this referring to?
That's an M73 machine gun mounted coaxially with the main gun, and it is controlled by either the gunner or the tank commander.
Spec 4 Dale Maddock is a track driver. He talks about one of the responsibilities of being a driver.
You got to consider, you got to keep the track up at all times, because if you get in a combat situation, then you have to have it. you know you got it.
Can you give me an idea on the amount of maintenance that you have to pull and what types and so forth?
You got all types of maintenance to pull. First echelon maintenance on the vehicles and part of second echelon maintenance on the vehicles you have to pull, which is changing track when you need it, road wheels, sprockets, etc., checking the oil and things like this.
For the cavalry days of old, it was said, take care of your horse and he'll take care of you. Today in Vietnam, it's the same story. Every 3 months, all the vehicles in one platoon are brought in for a complete checkup. Captain Charles Starr, the maintenance officer, tells us further.
Well, we bring in this platoon. We call it a stand down for a 7-day period of time. During this 7-day period, every engine is removed, every power pack assembly. This includes the engine, the transmission, and the transfer in the case of the ACAS. It all comes out as one package. All of the crew-served weapons and the individual weapons are inspected by our support maintenance and repairs made right on the spot, so that when they go out, everything that they have that they're going to need to fight, to shoot, to move, and to communicate, everything has been checked out, repaired, and they're ready to roll.
The pride of any unit is always reflected by the men themselves.
As a unit, the quarter horse is the best. I haven't seen anyone over here any better, and I don't think they're going to come any better.
I wouldn't be in another unit that I know of over here. Of course, everybody has pride in their own unit just for a good soldier.
But as a rule, when it comes down, when you're in a combat situation, you have to have your things together, as you would say. Everybody sticks right together and knows what their job is, and it gets done right.
I'm glad I'm with the quarter cav right now.
I think it's a real good unit. There's a lot of nice guys, and I think they enjoy doing the work, and they try to do the best they can over here.
I enjoy working with the people, my people, the platoon. They're all hard workers. I can depend on them, and naturally it's enjoyable working with them. We have little disciplinary problems, very little, and like I say, when the time comes, they're ready to roll. We have a 5-minute alert platoon every night, and even if they're not alert platoon, this platoon generally beats the alert platoon out.
I had a cousin that was over here, and when I came over, he told me that he wouldn't trade all this experience in the world for nothing, but going through it once is enough, and I feel the same way.
These are the men of the quarter horse, the modern cavalry arm of the Big Red One. For the 1st Infantry Division, this has been First Lieutenant Forrest Brandt and Army Specialist Bill Johansson.
Duty First, the story of the 1st Infantry Division in Vietnam. Duty First, a presentation of the 1st Infantry Division Information Office in cooperation with the American Forces Vietnam Network. Duty First, the story of the 1st Infantry Division in Vietnam. Into a new kind of war come the men of the Big Red One. Far from the concepts of trench warfare and front lines of World Wars I and II, today's challenge in Vietnam demands quick assault and rapid mobility techniques. In this conflict, as in every other, the 1st Infantry Division is serving the United States with honor and distinction, no matter what the task, no matter what the sacrifice.
His MOS might be O2B or O2C. He's a soldier first, a part of the 1st Infantry Division. He goes on details, he carries a weapon. And like every soldier, he has a special skill, a special talent. On any given day, you'll find him sharing that talent with others. He's a member of the Big Red One Band. lot of traveling. A primary mission is to provide entertainment to division troops. The week before Christmas found them moving from NDPs to base camps, carrying with them the important holiday message. Chief Warrant Officer Jackie Alexander is the bandmaster, the leader of the band. He talks about the recent performance schedule.
We have a policy of trying to hit all of our NDPs at least one time a month to bring some entertainment to the troops out in the field. Our newest venture is the pacification program and going out and bringing the American-type music to the civilians and, of course, trying to bring some of their tunes along with our renditions of our famous American tunes.
I suppose an ideal situation for a band in a military atmosphere would be that they have all their time devoted to music. I am sure that's not the case. What do the people do during the day?
Well, there's quite a few little extra details. As everyone knows that's ever been attached to a division, the band is also the main element. According to TONE, can fight as an infantry platoon and is so organized with the machine guns, M79 and so on. This takes a little bit of training time and a little of the times in the afternoons to keep these activities going. Plus, we also have a lot of people call us the BANE, which probably is true in some cases. We build bunkers, creosote buildings, dig latrines, anything you need done. The band has either done it or can do it.
Do you find a great deal of personal satisfaction in being with an organization such as the band here?
Definitely. It's my life. I've studied music all my life, and this is just exactly what I've been cut out to do, and it seems a great deal of satisfaction seeing the accomplishments that this unit has achieved.
At the edge of a small Vietnamese hamlet, the musicians climbed down from the Dusenhaves and set up in the middle of a small clearing. There was scarcely anyone else around until the music started. At the conclusion of this American-flavored Vietnamese folk song, the villagers were crowding into the small clearing. In addition to a concert and marching band, TONE also calls for a rhythm and blues band designed to provide entertainment for social and formal affairs. Kenneth Ching is the drummer of this group. Sergeant Ching, how long have you been playing?
I've been playing approximately 16 years now.
What kind of music you like to play more than anything else?
Well, jazz is my bag, and any type of music suits me fine, you know. I had a lot of fun playing rhythm and blues, rock, and so on. It's all right.
Tell us a little bit about this rhythm and blues group that you have going. How long have the people been together?
Well, the Rhythm and Blues group has been together for approximately about a year now, and I just started playing with them for about the last 3 months or so. It's kind of hard to actually keep the group going because of personality we sing and so on. But other than that, we try to keep it up because this is what the troops like to hear on the field.
Do you have any musical plans for the future?
Well, I got 5 more years, and then I'll retire and take it from there. I just have to play it by ear, but I'll continue to play on my own off-duty times and so on, because I enjoy playing. Music was always part of me, you know, even though it's just being a drummer, but yet it's a very important instrument, especially now.
Stack forward, Bill Rose is a dual musician. He plays piano, also plays saxophone. Bill, how long have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing piano for about 10 years and sax for about 4.
What kind of training did you have in the Army for music?
Well, right after basic training at Fort Ord, California, I went to Norfolk, Virginia, to the Naval School of Music there, and there's an Army element, and the instructors are comprised of both Army people and Navy people. Very fine musicians, very professional.
Are you quite happy that you're with the band?
I'm going to be in Vietnam. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to get into the band program because it is a fine program. So I was at Fort Bliss, Texas before I came here, and it seems like everywhere you go, you either know somebody personally that was shipped there from the band, or you can meet somebody that knows someone you know. We're all kind of tied together, all musicians. It's really a nice organization.
Do you have any future musical plans when you get out of the service?
I would like to teach, I think, when I get out of the service, and keep up my playing, join a group, and play in clubs. I played in the clubs on the side in El Paso while I was there, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure that I'd enjoy doing something like that.
In Vietnam enjoys quite a satisfying tour. He entertains in hard-to-reach areas. He provides goodwill to the Vietnamese people, but mostly he's a soldier and carries with him the sound of a proud division. Today we salute the band, the musical arm of the Big Red One. From the 1st Infantry Division, this is Army Specialist Bill Johansson.
Duty First, the story of the 1st Infantry Division in Vietnam. Duty First, a presentation to the 1st Infantry Division Information Office in cooperation with the American Forces Vietnam Network. Duty First, the story of the 1st Infantry Division in Vietnam. Into a new kind of war come the men of the Big Red One. Far from the concepts of trench warfare and front lines of World Wars I and II, today's challenge in Vietnam demands quick assault and rapid mobility techniques. In this conflict, as in every other, the 1st Infantry Division is serving the United States with honor and distinction, no matter what the task, no matter what the sacrifice.
Throughout the ages, man has been confronted with the prospect of a life after death. For this and many other reasons, his religion has always been a comfort in times both good and bad. No matter his location, he finds the time to worship in accordance with his own personal beliefs. Even in Vietnam, a time for religion is not denied him. Combat chaplain in Vietnam is a man dedicated to bringing God to man, along with bringing man to God. Because of the prevailing conditions, his job is every bit as dangerous as any, but his presence on the front lines is a constant inspiration to everyone he meets. Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Floyd Heckert, the division chaplain, gives us an overall look at the religious organization.
Well, we have 20 chaplains within the division. 2 of them are assigned to division headquarters, and then each of the brigades have 4 chaplains. The Divardi has 2 chaplains, the engineer and 1st Cav has 1 each, and support command has 1. The brigades are usually assigned 1 Catholic chaplain each, and then the other units we try to have a Catholic chaplain in those also. We have 6 Catholic chaplains and 14 Protestants.
Now, as far as going out with the troops in the field, what are the different duties of these chaplains?
The chaplains are expected to spend at least 50% of their time out in the field with the troops, and most of our chaplains do better than that. They spend usually 6 days out of the week out in the fields with the troops in their NDPs, fire support bases, and other places where they're working. While they're out there, they conduct services, they counsel with the men on various problems, they also make regular trips to the hospitals or the aid stations where the wounded are gathered. Primarily, their task in the field is to conduct services and to provide a pastoral-type ministry.
Have you found that there are any problems peculiar to Vietnam with the men who are serving over here?
I think one of them, of course, is the matter of just being here. We find in a lot of the young fellows a great deal of shock at having arrived here, and it takes 1 or 2 months to get adjusted. And then, of course, there is the last couple of months when the person is anticipating going home. And this causes all sorts of trauma also. So at the beginning and at the end, we seem to find in these fellows a very unstable situation of despondency, loneliness, in both the beginning and the end. During the middle part, they seem to operate pretty well.
I suppose that as a chaplain, you're confronted with the question many times of how can you justify thou shalt not kill with being in an actual battlefield situation?
Well, I feel that it is a difficult question, and it is one that is in the forefront of a lot of our men's minds. The scholarly answer would be that actually the Bible is referring to murder rather than just killing, where you premeditate, and plan to kill out of hatred. Most of our soldiers don't kill out of hatred. They kill because it's a job to be done. However, that frequently is of little consolation to the fellow who has to do it, and then it has guilt feelings later. From my own experience, I can only say that I have not changed my position, my thinking on this matter since I was 20 years old and in OCS in the infantry. I was a ministerial student before volunteering for the Army, and there the question was raised, since I was a ministerial student, how would I feel about killing and directing my men to kill as their platoon leader. I described it as something like relating it to dogs. Most everyone loves dogs and hates to see them killed, yet when one has rabies or is a mad dog, as we say, you have to kill it. The same thing is true in our society. We all want peace, and we would like to love our fellow man. However, when we have enemies who will not try to further peace and liberty and the welfare of mankind, then we have to resist, and in our natural setup, we wind up with wars and with killing. So from there, then, we have to be realistic, I think, accept the environment in which we live, the fact we do have wars, and then we rely on the mercy of God to forgive us if we have done wrong.
Along with being directly involved with division troops, the combat clergy in Vietnam also works with the local people. Chaplain Major Howard Easley, the 3rd Brigade chaplain, tells us more.
We've gotten involved in the civic action program as a secondary area of responsibility. However, it's turned out to be one of the most pleasant tasks that we have. And here in 3rd Brigade, we have been affiliated or associated with the Ben Cat Orphanage for quite some time. In fact, the Ben Cat Orphanage was a product of 3rd Brigade efforts back in 1966 when some of the villages were being relocated. It was noted by the chaplain and the commander of that era that many of the children were left without parents and were being cared for by the community, and the idea for an orphanage was born. We depend quite heavily on stateside organizations, civic and religious organizations, to send us the needed supplies and needed support for the orphanage. Right now, we're in a fundraising campaign, really, to build a chapel for the staff and children there. And we have about half of the money that will be necessary to complete that project. About every 2 or 3 months, we designate one of our chapel offerings to the Ben Cat Orphanage. This past Easter Sunday, an offering was designated, and a total of $805 was raised for the fund. In addition to the home that's provided for the 75 children, the staff of the orphanage also runs a day school for approximately 150 additional children. So all total, we're dealing with about 225 children at the orphanage. We find it rewarding work in that the majority of our time is spent with the war effort and is mainly destructive. And so this gives us an opportunity to do something constructive, and I enjoy it, and I think the soldiers who participate enjoy it too.
Do you find that working in Vietnam is any different than working back in the States? Are there any things peculiar to being over in Vietnam?
Well, so far as the chaplain's work is concerned, I think that you'd be hard-pressed to find a more receptive audience than you find here in Vietnam. Someone not long ago commented, I think an appropriate comment. They said that in many places chaplains were tolerated. In Vietnam, they are wanted, and I think that well summarizes the situation. I don't mean to insinuate that people are breaking down the doors to get to us, but in the face of the environment in which we're operating, men naturally consider life at its deepest meaning, with its deepest meaning, and they're constantly confronted with the prospect of death. And consequently, I think their mind begins to inquire about the hereafter, and this presents for us an excellent opportunity.
Sir, would you give us an idea of the brigade organization here and some of the people that you work with?
Here in the 3rd Brigade, we have a total of 4 chaplains, myself, 3 assistant brigade chaplains. Each one of the assistant brigade chaplains has as a primary responsibility one of our maneuver battalions. Right now, our denominational spread is, I think, quite good. We have Chaplain Price, who is with the 1st to 16th Infantry, and he's Baptist chaplain. We have Chaplain Smith with the 2nd to the 28th Infantry, and he's our Catholic chaplain. We have Chaplain Lavaroni, an Episcopalian, with the 1st to the 28th. And, of course, I'm here in brigade headquarters. The assistant brigade chaplains spend the vast majority of their time in the field with their unit, and the
the base camp area is kind of home base for them. They come in here to clean up and recuperate a little bit and start back out on another week's work. I spend the majority of my time in the base camp handling administrative details and base camp counseling and base camp worship services. Spend approximately 1 day a week on the road visiting the chaplains, and the rest of the time in the base camp, while the assistant brigade chaplains spend about 85 or 90% of their time in the field with the men holding religious services.
From time to time, a combat chaplain will be asked why he volunteered for this mission as opposed to religious work back home. Such a question was posed to Father Edward Flatley, the assistant division chaplain.
I have always enjoyed working with men, and I've found that the military life certainly needs chaplains. I was ordained a priest in 1941. I volunteered for the armed forces in 1942. However, I was not long enough ordained. My bishop would not give me permission. I kept applying every year, and finally in 1957, after 14 years of trying, I was given permission to come into the Army at that time.
You mentioned something earlier about certain units in the 1st Division supporting and helping with a local leprosarium. Would you elaborate on that for us?
There is a leprosarium in Ben Son, just outside of Fuloy. It's run by a Swiss priest with Vietnamese nuns. I understand there's about 1,000 lepers down there, men, women, and children, some families living there. The primary unit in the organization of the division that helps them is the 1st Aviation Company. However, they have received help from the various chapel activities and therefore all the brigades in the division.
You do work quite a bit with GIs over here in Vietnam. What is your opinion of the average soldier?
Very interesting you asked this. I just wrote a letter to a woman who was a parishioner of mine about 14 years ago, and I stated in there, which I've stated many, many times, that I have been tremendously impressed with the GI in Vietnam. I was during my last tour duty here. I am now. At one time, I feared for the future of America when I looked at the young American with the long hair, the crazy music, and the clothes. But having come to Vietnam the last time and again this time, I'm convinced there's a tremendous future for America. Unfortunately, we're judging by the intellects of a few. But I think these men are the greatest we have ever had. And I mean that most sincerely.
Whether he conducts his services in a base camp chapel or on the front lines of action, the combat chaplain serves the American fighting man, keeping him in close touch with the Word of God. Speaking for the 1st Infantry Division, I am Army Specialist Bill Johansson.
Duty First, the story of the 1st Infantry Division in Vietnam. Duty First, a presentation to the 1st Infantry Division Information Office in cooperation with the American Forces Vietnam Network.